Wow, stories.
Would I be an idiot for going on a trip without my fiancé because he failed to plan a trip he was responsible for? I, female 27, have been with my fiancé, 27, male, for over 8 years, and one of the biggest things I've disliked about him is that he does not put much energy into planning trips or celebratory events, for example, birthdays, anniversaries, promotions, etc. I've been quite transparent, blunt with him about it over the years, as for each trip I'd end up planning 80% of it, hotels, flights, things to do, etc., while he would just find a restaurant or something he'd like to see. For a bit more random context, to try and give more insight into my frustration, 2 years ago he literally did not plan anything for my birthday, nor gave me a small gift. We nearly broke up, and I was devastated since every year I make plans on his birthday, like reserving seats at his favorite restaurant, or ordering limited edition apparel from his favorite artists. Since then, we agreed to set days for when we'd discuss our next trip and assign tasks for what each person should be responsible for and check in with each other on those set days for updates. Context for the current issue. Last year, he was in charge of planning the location for our anniversary in September. April rolls by, and nothing. June, I assumed, he panics and selects location A. I do my own research and find out it's hurricane season there and not the best time to visit. Another argument occurs and I end up selecting location B. Since we did want to visit location A, though, we agree that he will be responsible for planning the whole trip to it in May 2023. Current issue. It is now late March, and the trip he's supposed to plan in basically a month and a half is in shambles. He hasn't booked the flights, reserved restaurants, booked or found things to do, etc. 2 weeks ago, I decided to check on him regarding it and found out he hadn't even reserved a hotel room, which he has recently done. I've told him if the week the trip is planned rolls in and he hasn't booked the tickets, I'll be taking my own personal trip without him for the entirety of the planned dates to location A. He's telling me that would be selfish and inconsiderate of me. He enjoys traveling as much as I do, and other than planning, he's perfect in every aspect, and I love him to death. So basically, would I be an idiot for going on a trip without my fiancé because he failed to plan a trip he was responsible for? Edit 1. For further context on location A, it is an island that has hurricane season in September. When I brought this up to him and the possibility of experiencing tropical rainy weather, we both agreed that this was something we did not want to experience for our anniversary. After looking up the weather for location B, which is in Europe and we live in USA, with a rough estimate of travel costs that were similar to location A, I then mentioned it him where he agreed on going to location B. I think selecting location B was a poor choice of words, but I chose select, as I had chosen location B to look into and then bring to the table. Edit 2. Fiancé took it upon himself to plan the trip in its entirety on himself. Lately, I've attempted to discuss with him his current plans because the departure date is coming up, but he has not even booked the flight. Attempts to sit down and discuss it with him have failed, as he says that we can talk about it another time, but never do. Edit 3. I'm 100% content with planning all trips by myself after receiving his input. For this trip he's supposed to be planning, I wasn't supposed to get involved in it, as it's his project. The backup plan I've created just in case is to a city he is not interested in. Additionally, the city has exhibits that conclude in May that I'm interested in seeing and wanted to for my birthday, which was in March but did not go. I have a plane ticket that I can adjust without additional charges, and the time for work, I have 2 jobs, has been scheduled off. Edit 4. As requested, I'd like to mention that I'd be 100% fine with planning everything for this trip. It would only take a day or two, but he's made it clear that this is his project trip, and I'm to give very little effort into planning it. I originally thought that I could create a worst-case scenario plan for this trip to fall back on, but I'm not sure if that would cause harm to his ego. Update. Firstly, thank you all for your feedback and suggestions. 2 days ago, my fiancé and I spoke about the feedback received. I should have given more details about what I consider planning a trip, as there was a lot of confusion. It's literally just the hotel, plane tickets, and possibly reserving a nice restaurant. Food and things to do are stuff we both will look up, but not put much thought into as we usually wing it, unless there's a special occasion. For this trip, He had neither the hotel nor flights booked, which occur during peak tourist season. If you travel and like to save money, you will understand the importance of this. To what came out of our discussion, he agreed he should be able to book the basics by himself and understands why I'd take my backup plan if the Go Trips plans fell through. These are literally 2 tasks that any adult should be capable of doing. We both agreed on this. We talked about how he'd feel if I did go on the backup trip, but understands why I would because of the limited PTO I can take off. I empathize with him, but the time I can take from both jobs is limited, and I want to be able to travel whenever I do. There were many comments about his participation ability to commit when planning for future prominent life events that I never considered and brought this up during our talk. He acknowledged his attitude, commitment to planning could cause a load of stress on me and made it seem that he doesn't care or isn't willing to put the effort into our relationship. We both agreed that we'd like to be here for the long haul and decided if his involvement doesn't improve in the future, we'd start going to couples therapy. Regarding the ADHD comments, he says he doesn't know but will now look into it. However, he's saying it's most likely that he just procrastinates, not sure if this is a symptom. He admitted that he doesn't enjoy booking the tickets or hotels, and we agreed that we'll either work together on this going forward or assign tasks again on who should be responsible for the basics versus fun stuff. We were able to sit down yesterday and book the flights together, so I won't be going on the backup trip. For those of you who had realistic expectations/standards on what to expect from an adult partner, your advice and suggestions were very helpful. We both admitted we never considered what comes after marriage, and he says that this talk helped him understand the gravity of his part in not planning and how it could blow up later. We laughed at the first world problem. We know, our race is one of the least to travel abroad, and cringed at the "you should do everything" comments. We don't agree one should do 100% of something every time when both persons are involved in it. More so that one should pick up where the other lacks, but it's dependent on the situation. Plus, every relationship is different. Not an idiot. This time, but listen, this man has told you time and again who he is. You have to believe him and either deal with it or be done with it. Having unrealistic expectations moving forward is not going to turn out well for either of you. You're an idiot. But to yourself, you know who he is. You know this is an area that he sucks at, and yet you've set him up to fail and put him in a position where you know he's going to accidentally hurt your feelings because this just isn't his thing. You're 8 years into this relationship. He's not changing.